Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel where I talk to you about Battlefleet Gothic, a space fleet game based in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. In this video, I'm going to talk about alternative rules for Battlefleet Gothic. So, we have a bunch of official rules that were made by Games Workshop when it was, the game came out and then was supported. We had a few sort of magazines, we had a few annuals, and I'll show you a couple of those briefly in a second. And then the community really took hold of it and ran with it. Created sort of a revised rule set, different fleets, different ships, different lists. They've gone and made supplements. There's an online magazine called Warp Rift, and I'd say there's 4 kind of genuinely quite large alternative rule sets that can be used, which are all kind of based on the original rules, but they've been changed, chopped and changed a little bit over time. So in this video, I'm just going to explain to you what they are and where they kind of came from and that sort of thing, to give you that alternative, and they give you a different experience for Battlefleet Gothic. They're all available free online, and with the real aim of kind of providing a different experience for BFG, I think is the best way of describing it. And some have changed things a little more than others. Some have taken what they've done and kind of run with it and changed the list and things like that. But I'll go into a little bit. This is kind of a bit of an overview video on those different sort of supplements and different rule sets. So before we get into that though, I'll just show you quickly kind of the official stuff. Official rules. Okay, so the official books are, you'll see these around. So you'll see Battlefleet Gothic, the Blue Book as it's called. You'll see Armada. The Blue Book is where the original rules were, and then Armada was the supplement that came out, which incorporated things like Necrons and Space Marines in it. And I have a whole video kind of going into the rules in previous videos. They also had things like Warp Storm magazine and this annual, and a lot of the documents and sort of articles that were in this made their way into Armada, but they had like these cool different like sort of stories and question times and different things and new rules and different ships and that sort of thing. And Warp Storm kind of also went into how you make planets and things like that. And then they had a bunch of magazines as well. So Fanatic magazine, I think there was 20 or something like that in total. Again, a lot of the information that was in this went into Armada and things like that. So there's a bunch of these magazines, and also this is my book with loads of stickers from various people that you may recognize in the community, which is always cool. A few more. But they also had the 2010 FAQ and errata. So there was a bunch of errata questions and things like that came out. So I've printed out, it's PDF, and that was a joint sort of operation between GW and the High Admiralty, which is in the community. And then they also released, with other models and things like that, a bunch of extra sort of models like AdMech and Forge World Tau and Craft World Eldar and things like that. So those were in PDFs as well. So those were all the official kind of rules that's kind of agreed upon, I suppose. So those are kind of the official rules that really tie most of BFG together. And then you'll hear in the community several alternative systems. You'll read about them, you'll wonder what they are. On my website, on portinvictor.weebly.com, I've got an article which goes into a little bit more detail on this as well. But I would say there's probably 4 kind of key alternative schemes that you'll hear about or read about. And the first one is Battlefleet Revised, which then later became Battlefleet XR, which really went into sort of different fleet lists and things like that, and changed a few of the Eldar rules and a few others as well. But that one is probably the main one you'll hear people choose to play over the official rules. There's Battlefleet 2020 or Battlefleet Alternative Activations, which I helped write, which does exactly that, says on the tin. The aim was to do a Battlefleet Gothic game rule set which had alternative activations. So I move a ship, then you move a ship, rather than I go, you go. And it was kind of aimed at kind of staying in the same sort of mantra like the old Epic and Titanicus and Necromunda, kind of those alternative activation games, and it adds a different kind of tactical style to the game and different nuances. So that was the aim of that. Then you had Battlefleet Heresy, which was done by the Rembrandt's Retreat. A number of writers wrote that there, and that was aimed at using a lot of the original Battlefleet Gothic rules, but applying it to Heresy era. So you'll find a lot of Space Marine fleets. You'll see rules on Glarianas and Dreadnoughts and things like that from the newer lore that the Heresy has written, and sort of character ships and Space Marine traits and Legion traits and things like that, which is really cool. I think, unfortunately, though, that one has now stopped kind of updates. As well as the other two, they're all done now as well. And then we have a newer version of the Heresy now called the Galaxy of Flame by a Discord member called Snuffy. And they have done a similar thing in writing a newer kind of updated set for Heresy. And bringing again Legions and Space Marines and that sort of thing. So they're kind of the four kind of key ones. I'm just going to kind of go into a little bit. I'll show you where they are and that sort of thing into each one in the next bit. Before I get into the rules themselves, though, and describing them, I want to give you a little bit of time frame because so the FAQ I mentioned as part of the official rules came in around 2010. And the aim of that was to kind of update it and kind of clarify a few things. And the process there was not to change really ships or anything like that from the original Blue Book and Armada. But then certain members of the community wanted to change a few of them. They had their ideas on their ships, and that's how BFG Revise began. And that's kind of the process that it went down to revise some of the rules, to update it a little bit and change some of those profiles and things like that. And then the subsequent kind of thing from that in 2016, it kind of morphed into XR that was led by Excalibur, who again is still floating around on the Discords and things like that. And so XR kind of became its thing in 2016, and that's kind of where it kind of went from there, essentially. And then in 2019, that's when, and 2020 is when Battlefleet Heresy began, and that was really all around aiming to using official rules as well as some unofficial fan-made ships that were in the community and been made, and bringing that together into a Heresy book that could be used and sort of try and do Heresy era battles in space, because there's a lot of those in the Heresy, right, in the lore. And then in 2020 was when Excalibur and myself and a couple of others came together. Sorry if you can hear the birds. Cockatoos, they're loud things. In 2020, that's when Excalibur kind of came to myself and a few others to talk about doing an alternative activations rule set, which we did in 2020, hence BFG 2020. And then now in 2024, 2025, Snuffy on Discord is doing the Galaxy of Flame and updating essentially the Heresy era. There was aspects of the Heresy original rules that Rembrandt's Retreat did that did a bit of alternative activations as well. So there was an option in that too, which is pretty cool. So a little bit of a time frame for you and kind of where everything fits in. Just it didn't all happen at once. Kind of morphed over the last 10 to 15 years as the community picked up the drive to create things when the original Games Workshop cancelled the game in 2013. So it all came together like that. So first off, we're going to talk about XR, which originally was BFG revised, as I said, but then converted into BFG XR in about 2016 when Excalibur, the main writer, came and did it. And Excalibur was really nice enough and sent me through a bunch of sort of his musings on his kind of writings of this, which I won't go into all of that, but essentially it was a really, really good plan that kind of provided some various different cool list options and attachments and things like that. There's some cool like rogue traders and customizable cruisers and inquisitor attachments. The main thing with XR was to bring in fan-made and community-made ships and change some of the point systems. But there was also a major aspect to it that looked at the different Xenos, and a lot of the Xenos sort of stuff was the one that's mainly been changed. And there's a cool kind of change log that you can check on it as well to check out what actually was done. But one of the main things that XR gets kind of mentioned And one of the main things is actually the move, move, shoot rules, which for the Eldar, which changed it, which is a really cool dynamic. It adds some technical complexity to it, so well worth checking out. Next up, you've got one that I was kind of involved with. It's BFG 2020, or the alternative activation rules. So the aim of that was to really, and the purpose was to really try out a different kind of way of tactical play with introducing alternative activations into the game, which kind of looked at. I'm a big fan of alternative activation games, huge fan of the old school, where, Epic, Titanicus nowadays, Necromunda, but also things like OPR now. I'm a really big fan of those. So being able to implement in BFG is a really, really cool thing. A lot more kind of work than I thought it was going to actually be, to be honest. And Excalibur did an amazing job as the main writer in this. But it's a your ship moves and our ship moves. And I think the added complexity around that, especially around the ordnance and how that interacts, was quite something that I wasn't expecting. But as you read through it, as you go through it, it became obvious to us that was actually one of the complex things. And it does add quite a level of tactical play that is absent in the original rules. So if you fancy trying that a go, I highly recommend giving it a fun. It's a good different rule set and kind of makes you think playing differently. Then you have BFG Heresy, which was done by the Rembrandt's Retreat, as I said. And they've got a couple of books which goes into the numerous different sort of legions and different traits that the legios could have. They've got things like Gloriana battleships that come in, as well as various different changes to the point system and things like that as well. So there are a couple of books for those. The only thing with Heresy, as I said, is that it's no longer being updated, per se, but you can download those books on the Rembrandt's Retreat website or via the normal sort of specialist arms forum. But it's where a lot of the rules for Glorianas sit and Dreadnoughts. You'll find like sort of character-rich ones for that, so it's well worth checking those out if you are interested in the Glorianas floating around. And the newest alternate ruleset that is out at the moment from Joe Snuffy just kind of produced is a labour of love, quite frankly, on the Discord and all that, is Battlefleet Gothic Heresy, but a flame, essentially, the Galaxy of Flame. And there's some really cool. I haven't had a real chance to get into it and play any of the rules yet for this, but there's some really cool added aspects to it that I really want to give a go, as well as having Legion traits for the Space Marines and different character ships and things like that. They've also included some additional types of ships like assault cruisers and heavy frigates and things like that. So I'm really keen to see where this goes, and I want to give some of these ships a good go. So if you want to try that, let's give it a crack. There you go, Admirals. Kind of an overview of the kind of key rule sets that are alternatives to the official rules. That being said, though, there are plenty of supplements as well that kind of use various different types of these rules, but mainly the official ones. So you've got things, some amazing ones from from France and Poland that have written their own fleets and ships and lists and things like that. There's things like Project Distant Darkness, Battlefleet Coronas are two examples of amazing fan supplements that have been produced. Coronas is a famous one for introducing sort of things like Chaos Light Cruisers. Personally, not a huge fan, right? That's the one thing I'm not a huge fan, but it's a really cool idea that they brought, and it's a really well done, produced document. The community has also supplements on Dreadnoughts that you can find on my website as well. Also, Book of the Void, there's a couple of supplements that provide things like Sisters of Battlefleet list and things like that, and additional Tyranids. Dark Mechanicus is another supplement that has been released. So there are loads of these fans of supplements which contribute to and can be included into these other kind of main alternative rule sets. And then you've got loads of just additional content that's been provided over the years, 20 years now, to Warproof magazine, which is an online fanzine which is edited by Horizon. Loads of people can submit articles to it, so there's loads of cool campaign stuff in there, different alternative ships and what character ships people have produced, as well as tacticas, as well as stories, things like that. So always worth having a look at those too. So there's a lot of content kind of floating around outside of those kind of main alternative rule sets, I suppose. So you kind of have that umbrella where there's other stuff involved. So all of this, though, can be found at the Specialist Arms forum. All of these are in Google Drives and things like that for people to download free on PDFs. So if you want to kind of look into it more and like that Legion, that Heresy stuff sounds interesting to me, or Dark Mechanica, so yeah, I'd love to see a bit more of that, then go check out the Specialist Arms forum. They have it all there for you to have a look at and have a read. If you've got any questions, Admirals, on any of that, yeah, just pop a comment down. All of the writers are still floating around. They're still in the Discord and on the Facebook channels. So if you have a question, we'll probably be able to get an answer for you. So put them in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll see you again soon.